Oh, do we have a show for you today? Busy show. We'll get you set for a super wild card weekend. The latest on Wink Martindale and Brian Daboll hating each other. But Yankee fans, you people confuse me. I don't understand you people. We all agree that the New York Yankees need to add a pitcher. Maybe two, but they need to add a pitcher. Oh, we're all in agreement on that? Yankees need to add a pitcher? We're good with that? You know you have Garrett Cole, great. You know that Carlos Rodon has to be in the rotation making all that money, great. You know that Nestor Cortez is in that rotation. And you know Clark Schmidt's in the rotation. So you need to add a pitcher. And so there are a few options out there. And over the last few hours, I have heard on this radio station, and I've heard from friends of mine who are Yankee fans, scream very loudly, I want Trevor Bauer. I want Trevor Bauer. Who cares if he hasn't pitched in the major league since 2021? Who cares if there is still accusations against him that are disgusting and disturbing? Who cares if MLB suspended him for a record amount of games? I want. And then in the next breath, they have the audacity to say they don't want Marcus Stroman? Why? Because he hurt your feelings on Twitter? Why? Because he blocked you on social media? This makes no sense to me. Both of those guys can help you pitching-wise. So from a baseball standpoint, I welcome the debate. I would still pick Marcus Stroman because he's more reliable. But from a personality standpoint, you guys are so willing to give a second chance to Trevor Bauer, yet Marcus Stroman, who's a fine dude. Oh, he's active on social media. Oh, he may go after you. Oh, I can't have that. That doesn't make any sense to me, Tiki. Well, I'm confused.
So I think the perception of Marcus Stroman is what makes people not like him. That he is brash, that he's got an attitude, that he says exactly what he feels. Because we all know why he was upset with Brian Cashman, and we know that he has now deleted all of those upset tweets about Brian Cashman.
He shouldn't have done that, by the way.
Right, but look, if you deleted it, didn't happen, right? Isn't that how it works on social media? But he's also not a fool, right? He knows that he wanted to be a Yankee back in 2019 when he got traded to the Mets, that he kind of still wants to be a Yankee, but he was almost like goading them, telling all of us how bad the rotation was, how basically you need me. It feels like, I don't want to say childish because it's not like, I don't even know if children do that, but it just felt really petty.
Yeah.
Right? Very petty.
That's all fair.
But understandable for a guy who really believes in himself. And, you talk about the Trevor Bauer side of this and all of these accusations that are hanging out over him, whether or not they were consensual or not. Major League Baseball did their own investigation outside of the police investigation and determined we don't want you in Major League Baseball. So that should tell you a lot. Now, I don't know what, but it tells you a lot. I worry if you bring in a guy like Trevor Bauer, what it does to the clubhouse. Right, what the players now think about being associated, or their wives being associated with Trevor Bauer. Now, I could be completely off base here, but when those things that are non-on-field related become so forward that you can't help but talk about them, it gets uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? It gets odd. Now, if you're a really good dude, you can overcome it. Right? If you have a great clubhouse, you can overcome it. But I don't know if that's guaranteed. And if I'm an executive, that's more what I'm worried about. Look, he could be a great pitcher, right? He added a sweeper when he was in Japan. At least he told BT and Sal, right? He started pitching faster, put velocity on his fastball up to 98 or whatever he said it was. So he's obviously a really good pitcher, but it's those other things that we can't define or clarify that would worry the hell out of me.
Both guys are very similar. Both guys are very brash. Both guys will tell you what they think. Both guys have gotten in trouble on social media. One guy is accused of beating the crap out of women. Like, I'm sorry, let's just be blunt about this conversation. Marcus Stroman may have hurt your feelings on social media. Maybe he did. Maybe he blocked you. Mm-hmm. Maybe he said stuff about Brian Cashman that you also probably said. Maybe he said something about you. I get it. He ain't perfect. I'm certainly not going to defend every tweet Marcus Stroman's ever had. But I'll tell you this. Marcus Stroman was never suspended by Major League Baseball for 100 and some odd games. And so I find it odd that there are Yankee fans out there that would welcome in Trevor Bauer and everything that comes with it. And yet Marcus Stroman, the answer is no to? And look, as far as how they are as pitchers, Trevor Bauer pitched fine in Japan. Trevor Bauer also didn't pitch in 2022. He also didn't pitch in the second half of 2021. Marcus Stroman's pitched the last few years, and he doesn't make every single start, but he makes the bulk of his starts. And he's good, and he's effective. And you know what else I know about Marcus Stroman? And Met fans, say what you want about the guy. I know he can pitch in New York because I know he's a Long Island kid, and I know that he's done it here. And I know that he lives for the big moment. But I'll warn you about Marcus Stroman. When he pitches well, he's going to retweet people saying how well he pitched. And that may bother you. But if we're talking about personalities and we're talking about stuff outside of pitching, because I'll welcome the baseball debate all day concerning Stroman versus Bauer. But if we're talking about the other stuff, I think it's easy. I think it's very easy, and I think it's very straightforward. It's Marcus Stroman. And I'm surprised at so many Yankee fans, I know they all have their reasons, on why they would prefer to take the risk with Bauer and not with Marcus Stroman.
Well, hold on. Here's the challenge in the conversation when you pit these two potential Yankees, future Yankees, against one another. One, I think we have to assume that Trevor Bauer is not going to be partaking in all of those things that got him into trouble in the first place, right? So this is past behavior. It's not current or future behavior that we're trying to adjudicate here. It's past behavior that he's done. So is he going to have to stand up and answer to some extent his teammates in the clubhouse? Yes, about who he is and what he's all about. Same thing with Marcus Stroman. That's past behavior. Is he going to change? Is it more likely to continue? Yeah, but we're talking about Twitter, right? Or X, or whatever the heck it's called now. We're talking about social media. We're talking about, I don't know, fake vanity that comes from having a platform that everybody will follow you on. So so we're talking about with Trevor Bauer something that happened in the past, and we're talking with Marcus Stroman something that doesn't mean jack, right? The only thing that ultimately comes to the fore is how are you going to pitch?
How are you going to pitch? But one other thing you mentioned, which is important, you said, how is that person treated in that clubhouse? Is he respected? Do people like him? Are they accepting of him as a teammate? I have not heard any stories about Marcus Stroman not being accepted as a teammate.
Me either. Now he's brash and he's cocky, and all that other stuff. Right? He's got that little man, syndrome, right? But I'll take that. By the way, I love that. You know who else has that? Tyreek Hill has that.
Yeah.
I'd want him on my team, and I think that's why he's fine in locker rooms or clubhouses, because you kind of love that cocky dude, especially when he's your cocky dude. So I'm not worried about Marcus Stroman in the clubhouse. I'm not necessarily worried about Trevor Bauer because, if anything, he's honest, right? Maybe to a fault. He'll tell you everything like he did with BT and Sal. And if you missed it, go find it on the Odyssey app. But he's open, and it's brash, and it's either good or bad depending how that locker room accepts you. So the question mark is, one, how are they going to pitch? How are they going to pitch in New York? And then how is the clubhouse going to receive them? I don't think that's an issue with Marcus Stroman. It might be. I'm not saying it will be, but it might be with Trevor Bauer.
It's non-negotiable. Marcus Stroman cannot be signed by the New York Yankees. If given the choice,
Why?
It is absolutely Trevor Bauer over Marcus Stroman.
What did Marcus do? Did he block you? Did he hurt your feelings?
Actually, he hasn't yet. I'm sure that's due to come if he signs with the Yankees. The bottom line is this. Can Stroman pitch? Absolutely he can. But have we learned nothing in this town? Nothing in this town on what we have continued to deal with Aaron Rodgers, on what we dealt with Kyrie and KD. And yes, should athletes have their opinion and voice their displeasures on Twitter like all of us? Fine. But Marcus Stroman goes above and beyond, singling out fans, media, anybody who dare criticizes him after a bad start. And is Trevor Bauer probably a bad guy? Yeah. Could Trevor Bauer be a problem in a locker room? Yeah. But I know for a fact, or maybe not for a fact, I assume Trevor Bauer to get back in the major leagues is not signing anything more than a one-year deal. And maybe that's all that Stroman gets. Mm-hmm. At the first sign of trouble, if there is trouble with Trevor Bauer, you cut him. You get rid of him. You eat it. You rip the Band-Aid off. He will not be able to linger here long enough. You're not going to do that with Marcus Stroman. And undoubtedly, what will be a bigger distraction to the Yankee season is going to be Twitter spats and the media asking Marcus Stroman about said Twitter spat, since now we already have at least a little bit of a history of him calling fans in this town racist and generalizing that, there is no place for that here, and there's no place in the Yankee locker room on what is a critical year for them, by the way, and the GM, to not have any distractions. Trevor Bauer, bad guy, not as big a distraction this year.
In 2021, Marcus Stroman made 33 starts. That was tied for the league lead in baseball. He had a 3.02 ERA. Marcus Stroman had a really, really, really good season for the New York Mets in 2021, okay? And he was on social media, and he was active with fans. And, he said some harsh things to people. Was that ever a distraction for the 2021 New York Mets? When they collapsed, and they did Marcus Stroman have anything to do with it?
No.
No, the answer is no. No. So when Francisco Lindor and Javi Baez gave the thumbs down, did Marcus Stroman have anything to do with it?
No.
But
what makes you think?
No, but my point to you is, in a season that went horribly wrong for the Mets, I would say this 4 years later, or 3 years later, however many years it's been, Marcus Stroman was a rock, not a block.
Glass.
He was a rock
he could be
for
a
that
block.
team.
He could be a block of a rock.
That's right.
Evan.
And it was never a distraction. You know who was a distraction for? For those that went on social media. For those that went back and forth for him. I'm a Met fan, diehard Met fan. I never interacted with him on social media because I didn't give a rat's ass. I watched him pitch, and he did a damn good job. And 2022 with the Cubs, he did a damn good job. And last year's a little different. He got off to a great start, got hurt, missed a lot of time, was bad in the second half, fine. But he's never been that distraction you're, worried about.
Because I think the distraction is still to come and mounting. And I'm sorry, this is where I play the big brother, little brother thing. No offense to your cute 2021 New York Mets. We're talking about the New York Yankees in a one-year window, potentially with Juan Soto, you said it yourself, that cannot afford the slightest chance of a distraction.
Oh, hold on, real quick. Do you realize, and I respect that Trevor Bauer is trying to rehab his image, okay? He went on right here with BT and Sally, went on Fox News, and he's doing his best. He's begging for a job in Major League Baseball. No offense, that's what those interviews are. He is begging for a job. Trevor Bauer is still being accused of heinous stuff. What if it doesn't end the way Trevor Bauer tells us it's going to end?
Then you cut bait right away.
It's an embarrassment. You would have done all your little research. You would have signed him, and then it would have blown up in your face
Evan,
in the middle of May.
It's an embarrassment for a couple days. If it blows up and Stroman's the continued, just saying nonsense, or you can't criticize him without being called a racist, which is what Stroman basically does, that's a problem year long. And then you also can't cut Stroman. Then it becomes a major grievance where Bauer, nobody's going to care.
Look, I understand what you're saying about Stroman. You can't generalize in a melting pot. You just can't. Right? These peas don't taste good. It's not the peas. It's the whatever. It's the celery that actually is destroying the soup. So he did that, and people got offended by it. I hope that he learned from it, right? When you do something stupid like that, because it was stupid, you generally, when you get called on it, which he did, you learn from those things. I have to assume that he's going to learn from those things. Now, to me, the only thing I want to talk to about regarding these two guys is what are they going to do to the team, right? What can they do for the team, meaning how well do they pitch? And Trevor Bauer was damn near a Cy Young winner, right? And so what can Marcus Stroman do when he pitches? His numbers have they kind of year over year they've faded a little bit. He's gone from 320 to 395.
I want to be fairness about what happened to him last year. So Marcus Stroman in the first half of the year was an all-star. He was amazing.
Right.
He had injury issues in the second half and pitched terribly when he pitched. So is that a long-term concern? Because I think his 3.9 ERA is a little not fair to him.
I don't. It is what it is. This is how people are going to look at this transaction or potential transactions. It's who is he? How does he pitch?
Right.
And what is he going to do to our team? And I don't think that Marcus Stroman is going to disrupt the team as much as Trevor Bauer potentially could. Now, you're right, Shaun. It is a one-year deal. If it sucks and he's pitching terribly and he's doing things that, I don't know, are disrupting the juju of a team, you get rid of him. And you can't necessarily do that with Marcus Stroman. But I just feel like I would love a grinder. Right, the grinder is who I love on teams, And he's not going to be your ace.
Well,
he's not going to be your second starter, right? He's that guy who fills and makes you deeper as a starter.
And
for
you
the
got
Yankees.
to ask yourself if you're a Yankee fan. We all agree they need a starter. I think that's kind of like a universal truth. I laid out what their rotation looks like right now. They need someone in the middle of that rotation.
Yes.
Well, here's the good news. You have an ace. You have the ace. You have the best pitcher in this sport in Garrett Cole. So what do you specifically need in that rotation? For my money, a guy I can rely on. For me, a guy that can give me innings. And the reason I say that is because I can't trust Carlos Rodon. I can't trust Nestor Cortez. Sorry, every time I say his name, it just...
You expect it.
I'm like,
It's just not coming.
I'm waiting for something to slap me across the face.
Nestor Cortez.
There it is. I think Clark Schmidt's relatively reliable based on last year, so I put him in there. But Rodon and Cortez I can't rely on. So I want somebody in my rotation that I know is going to take the baseball every 5 days. I get it. It wasn't an injury with Trevor Bauer. I understand. He hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball consistently in years. Now, whether that's injury-related or suspended-related, does that matter? There's a risk related, not just off the field, but on the field to Trevor Bauer. I would be more confident in the performance I'm going to get from Stroman than I am with Trevor Bauer. And so these are two interesting names because I don't think you have to break the bank to get either guy. You will to get Blake Snell coming off a Cy Young season. You will to get Jordan Montgomery to not go back to Texas. But these two guys, you're not going to have to break the bank for. And I think it's an easy choice. And I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised that over the last few hours from a lot of my Yankee fan friends and those that I've interacted with, I've heard a heavy line of Bauer deserves a chance and no way Marcus Stroman. No way Marcus Stroman? We'll get to your reaction on it coming up, 877-337-6666. That's the toll-free number.
All right. Tommy just walked in. We don't have time to break the glass. We should do this before the breaks. The Giants and Wink Martindale have mutually agreed to part ways. That saga is over. And an NFL stunner, Pete Carroll is out as Seahawks head coach.
Oh!
Break it again.
Now, Pete Carroll is being fired or Pete Carroll is resigning?
This tweet from Adam Schefter just 3 minutes ago. Pete Carroll is expected to be out as the Seahawks head coach per sources, though he still could remain in the organization, just not as the head coach.
Interesting.
Lot to digest. We'll get to both of those stories, plus your calls on Stroman versus Bauer. Like I said, it's a very, very, very busy Wednesday. And I remind you, tomorrow at this time is a special Throwback Thursday. Will be exclusively on 660 a.m., and you don't want to miss it. Legendary voices, legendary jingles. We're going legendary because we will be exclusively on 660 tomorrow at 2 o'clock.